How many family members could you poison before you eventually got caught? This is the case of Stacey Castor. Stacey Castor was born Stacey Daniels in Clay, New York on the 24th of July 1967. She was born to her parents Jerry Daniels and Judy Eaton. Not much is known about Stacey Castor's early life, although Stacey met her first husband Michael Wallace in 1985. She was just 17 years old at the time. The couple married and had their first daughter, Ashley, in 1988, and a second daughter, Bree, was born in 1991. Stacey was employed by an ambulance dispatch company, while her husband, Michael, worked nights as a mechanic. The family had very little money and struggled with the necessities. Her husband was apparently very close to their daughter, Bree, and Stacey would describe this as favoritism towards Bree. So Stacey would make up for this by becoming best friends with her eldest daughter, Ashley. And despite their closeness with the children, the couple grew apart, and it was rumoured that each were having extramarital affairs, but this cannot be confirmed, only speculated. In late 1999, her husband Michael began feeling very unwell, and family members remember him acting unsteady, coughing, and seemingly swollen. And as his inexplicable sickness persisted over the holiday season, his family encouraged him to seek medical care. But he died in early 2000, and physicians told Stacey that her husband Michael had died of a heart attack. Although Michael Wallace's sister was skeptical and requested an autopsy, but his wife, Stacey, refused, saying that she believed the doctors were correct and that it was a heart attack. In 2003, Stacey remarried a man by the name of David Castor. David was the owner of an air conditioning installation and repair company, and so Stacey served as the office manager. And one afternoon in August 2005, Stacey Castor called the sheriff's office to tell them that her husband had locked himself in their bedroom following an argument and had not been seen or heard from in the past day, claiming that he was depressed. But upon visiting the house for a wellness check, Sergeant Robert Willoughby kicked in the door to the bedroom and found David dead. Among the items near his body was a container of antifreeze and half a glass of bright green liquid. And as soon as the door opened to the bedroom, Stacey Castor screamed, "He's not dead, he's not dead!" The coroner reported that David had taken his own life through a self-administered lethal dose of antifreeze. But when police found Stacey Castor's fingerprints on the antifreeze glass and located a turkey baster that had David's DNA on the tip, they began to suspect that maybe she had engineered his death. They believed that Stacey Castor had used this turkey baster to force feed the antifreeze once David had become too physically weak to drink it. And investigators secured audio and visual surveillance on Stacey's house and the grave sites of both of her husbands, who had been buried side by side at her request. Now, detectives reasoned that if Stacey were truly genuine about her love for her late husbands, then she would show up eventually and visit these grave sites. But Stacey, however, never visited either of her husband's grave sites, and investigators soon felt that the only way to prove that she could be responsible for both of these homicides was to have Michael Wallace, her first husband's body, exhumed. A toxicology screen ruled that Mr. Wallace had also been killed through antifreeze poisoning, and in September 2007, Stacey Castor panicked as suspicion mounted over the deaths of her late husbands, and after learning that police had exhumed Mr. Michael Wallace's body, her first husband, and found traces of this antifreeze in his system, she was believed to have devised a plan to set up her daughter Ashley for both murders. And on Ashley's first day of college, investigators came to her school, pulled her out of lessons to question her about her father, Michael Wallace's death, and to inform her that he had been poisoned. Ashley was obviously upset and called her mother, and soon after, Ashley said that Stacey invited her to the family home in Liverpool to have a drink together. Ashley agreed because Stacey was not only her mother but her best friend. The following day, Stacey Castor invited Ashley to drink at her home again, offering a nasty tasting drink that initially Ashley refused. 17 hours later, Ashley was found comatose in bed by her younger sister Bree, and Bree demanded that help be sought for her sister and 911 be called. Ashley's sister left her side just for a brief moment, but when she returned, she found a note next to Ashley that contained supposed confession to the murders of her father and stepfather. But it wasn't there initially. Stacey Castor quickly took the note and later gave it to paramedics. Tests revealed that potentially fatal painkillers had been found in Ashley's system and that she most likely would have died if she had not been taken to the hospital just a few minutes later. And when Ashley woke up, police questioned her about the murders and this note. She said the last thing she remembered was her mother making her an alcoholic drink and then it tasting funny, and that she'd never invited her around before to drink alcohol. She told the officers that she did not write this note and was confused about the questioning. For 2 years, investigators had collected evidence against Stacey Castor for the deaths of her 2 husbands, and in 2007 she was arrested for second-degree murder in David, her second husband's death, for attempting to murder and frame Ashley, and prosecutors argued that Ashley's computer had written this note, but it had actually been written by Stacey. Ashley was 12 at the time of her father, Mr. Wallace's death, and when brought to the stand, she testified that she did not murder either her father or stepfather, nor did she write this note. The district attorney argued that David taking his life had never made sense, given the lack of his fingerprints on the glass or container tainted with ethyl glycol, a substance found in antifreeze, and the turkey baster found in the kitchen garbage bearing both ethylene glycol and his DNA. They felt that this suggested he was force-fed the antifreeze. Given evidence of the evolution of David's illness, they concluded that Stacey had fed her husband antifreeze through the baster before trying to make it look like he had taken his own life. She had said that her husband had got this idea to take his own life with this antifreeze while both were watching a news report about Lynn Turner, who had murdered both her past 2 lovers by poisoning. Prosecutors presented evidence showing how this antifreeze poisoning can be identified from the growth of calcium oxalate crystals in the kidneys, and that this was seen in her first husband and second husband's autopsies. And in addition, they noted money as one of the main reasons why Stacey Castor had murdered her husbands. She had wanted to collect on their life insurance and estates, and had changed David's will to exclude his son by a previous marriage from the money left to him by David. Having searched Stacey Castor's computer, prosecutors had found several drafts of this note. Forensic investigators found that based on the timestamps, it had been written while Ashley was in school, proving that she couldn't have been the author of the note. And on the stand, Ashley retold how her mother had convinced her to drink this alcoholic beverage that smelt really funny, and she repeated that she only drank this nasty tasting beverage because she trusted her mother. She was best friends with her mother, and she maintained her innocence in the murders and denied writing the note. And that Stacey Castor's behaviour during her second husband David and Ashley's illness made no sense given the years she had worked for an ambulance company. She did not seek care for Ashley for 17 hours and indicated that David, who was staggering and vomiting and unable to stand, looked okay. Otherwise, he questioned how a woman who had lost 2 husbands to poisoning would not seek help for a daughter in Ashley's state. And on February the 5th, 2009, Stacey Castor was found guilty of second-degree murder in the poisoning of David, her second husband, and attempted second-degree murder in overdosing her daughter Ashley. Stacey had her eyes closed as the verdicts were read, and they announced that she would appeal the verdict, including challenging the inclusion of evidence regarding the death of her first husband, for which Stacey had not been charged. On March the 5th, 2009, at Stacey Castor's sentencing, it was asked for them to impose the maximum sentence because of the brutality of David's death. Further, she criticised how Stacey had partied in her backyard with friends like nothing was happening, as Ashley was comatose in her room. She is cold, calculating, and without any emotion for what she has done, the judge stated. Human life is sacred. Stacey Castor places no value on human life, not even her own flesh and blood. And to Stacey Castor, human beings are disposable. David's son, whom Stacey had cheated out of his inheritance, pleaded the judge for Stacey to be severely punished. Your Honour, Stacey Castor is a monster and a threat to society. He sentenced her to the maximum of 25 years to life for the murder of David, an additional 25 years for attempting to kill Ashley and for forging David's will. He ordered Castor to serve an additional 3 to 4 years in prison. The trial had lasted for 4 weeks, and an emotional Ashley told the judge she hated her mother for ruining so many people's lives, but she still loved her for the bond she had originally had with her. I never knew what hate was until now, she said. Even though I do hate her, I still love her at the same time, and that bothers me. It is so confusing. How can you hate someone and love them at the same time? I just wish that she would say sorry for everything she did, including all the lies, and as horrible as it makes me feel, this is goodbye, Mum. As hard as you tried, I survived, and I will survive because now I'm surrounded by people that love me. I'm going to do good things in this world, despite making me, in every sense of the world, an orphan. Stacey Castor was placed in the New York Department of Corrections. Even with credit for time served, her earliest possible release date is June the 15th, 2055, making her just over her 88th birthday. But then, Stacey Castor was found dead in her cell on the morning of June the 11th, 2016. It was not immediately apparent how she died, and the manner of her death was listed as undetermined, but it was later determined by the DA's office that she died of a heart attack. With no evidence of a letter or foul play, Stacey Castor's story was adapted into a Lifetime film named Poisoned Love, the Stacey Castor Story, and this was part of its Ripped from the Headlines feature film series. Thank you for listening, guys. Take care, stay safe, and I'll be back with you again soon. Bye for now.